So today we are going to turn this thrift store candlestick that's quite delightful, right? I think it's pretty, into a fall themed beauty. Okay, for me, the first thing I want to do when I am getting ready for my fall decorating is to pick out a color scheme. So for me, that involves a couple of oranges. So I have what's called Canyon Orange and Bright Orange. And these are cheap paints from the thrift or from the craft store. So for this, you don't need any kind of exciting paints. This is bronze metallic and this is gold metallic. And then a yellow, right? Because we already have yellow in here. Not quite the same color yellow, but I tend to like I don't like bright yellow. This is going to turn into a vintage theme. So the first thing I want to think about myself is how I'm going to use it. So in my decorating, I use a lot of fairy lights and things like that. So I want kind of an ability to have a reflection, not only off of this really cool glass globe, but also off of maybe some of the leaves or something like that, which is why I pulled out the metallic paints. So the first thing I want to do is get a base of color down. So I'm going to start with the brighter orange. Boop, boop, boop. And this one, I feel like I could use a smaller sized brush because I'm going to be using multiple layers of paint, using multiple layers of colors. And so having a smaller brush is not going to make me sad. And also on something that's this dark in color, having a couple of layers of paint is it's just gonna be mandatory. It's not even gonna be optional. I guess you could have primed it. I'm not a big primer. And here, maybe this will help if I turn it this way. You can watch at least while I talk instead of looking at the top of a candlestick the whole time and just listening to me prattle on about fall. So a bunch of the gals on my list were like, we love fall and we want to have fall crafts and fall freebies. And I'm like, okay, I definitely have a portion of my house I decorate for fall. In fact, one of my very favorite fall things is I had bought a garland at a craft store years ago, and it is all like beaded. I can't remember how much. I think I paid a good bit, but I think I also bought it on a different season because I can't imagine myself paying $1 billion for that fancy it's a swag. It's when I take videos, keep your eyes out for it because it's gorgeous. All right, so we're just continuing to go around with the orange. I'm going to paint kind of the bottom to the middle of the leaves, and I'll be back as soon as I get done with that. Okay, I think I got all the way around on the bottom leaves. Let's go ahead and do the middle, inside to the middle of the big leaves. And I do want to talk to you a bit about this. I'm going to paint the cup of the taper candles too. So I do want to talk to you about this because I bought this item at a thrift store and it feels very substantial. It's a piece that for sure cost a fair bit, at least for the time when somebody bought it. I don't believe that it is handmade. It doesn't have a handmade look to it. The leaves are pretty consistent. And my thoughts about things like this are, number one, this little guy has been rejected already, right? Somebody didn't care enough to keep it in their house and it was sent to a thrift store for whatever reason, right? And then I found it, and my want for it is to become a pretty part of my fall decorations. There's no made in America or whatever, which it could be if it was older. All right, we're going to go around the top, or go around it again. Okay, but as a human who has sold on eBay and Etsy, I did that, sold vintage products for years. There's a few things that you can tell about pieces that could be valuable, right? Because that's the thing that always comes up whenever I'm slapping paint on a thrift store item. I'll get people in the comments or people who message me, oh my gosh, I think you could have gotten a ton of money if you sold that online. And I was the kind of person who for years sold things online. And yeah, I would have sold this for sure. And I probably would have gotten, usually these kind of things would go between 25 and maybe, I'd say the max for this would be 35. And also part of that price would have been a little bit of the shipping built in, because I usually charge like $5 shipping. That seemed to be what my customers looking for vintage finds could absorb comfortably, that they would continue to order and still be willing to help me with part of the shipping. So knowing the size of this, the shipping would have probably been about $9. So if I sold it for $25 and shipping was $9, and they paid $5, right? Mathing here in front of you, weird. But I would have made about 20 bucks for it. Right? Right. Now, in a perfect world, I would pay 20 bucks if I was big on spending retail prices for my decor and all of that. I would pay 20 bucks for this if it was a super cute fall decorated thing. So to me, at least, it feels like I am and I spent $3 to buy it. It was on Wednesday, so the old dear half off pricing was ever in my favor, because I'm over 55, and so I get the discount pricing on Wednesdays. So for me, I feel like I'm like right in the sweet spot of, yes, I should paint it. No, nobody on the internet is going to pay me a fortune for this. If it turns out to be something amazing, somebody can sandblast this and take my acrylic paint off. I didn't even prime it, so it might not stick, but I don't think that's the case. I think that this is a mass-produced item. If I had to guess, and I'm usually pretty good at guessing at these things, I would guess it was sold at Pier 1, because they had a lot of candle stuff, and that it was made maybe in Indonesia or India or somewhere with a little bit better quality, and it was probably 1980s, 1990s, and before everything got so cheap. But this is not a handmade item, nor is it a vintage masterpiece. Anyways, I'm going to just keep going around and painting the orange for a minute. When I feel like I have enough coverage, I will get back to you. Now, you might ask why I don't just heat dry it. Well, paint is basically plastic. Metal is reactive to heat. And so I'm concerned about it adhering later. Because it doesn't have, like, this doesn't have to have daily use, but I also don't want it to fall apart. So what we're going to do now is, while that layer's drying, we're going to start doing the darker orange. And if your vibe isn't vintage dark and broody, then for sure I would prime, I want the darker one, Canyon orange. Then for sure I would prime this first, because anything that you put on a darker background is going to have what's called a darker tone, meaning that the under feeling of it is going to be darker rather than lighter. If you used white primer or even white acrylic paint under this, gesso would be a great option because this is already kind of, it's rough. It's not rough like gesso, but it's rough. I would never use my paint pens on this. This is going to have to be a paintbrush kind of situation. But, where was I? Dang it. Chit-chatting with myself and lost my place. Anyways, if you want it to have more of a lighter tone and feeling, then make the undercoat of whatever you're painting on a lighter color. Because this, I could probably paint a ton of layers before this would ever feel light and bright and cheerful, which is not what I'm going for. I am trying to keep the middle stem relatively clean. I don't want to have to paint that middle stem. I love the contrast between the dark metal of that stem. I cannot bend these leaves. These leaves are pretty solid. I'm just going to have to paint them just the way they are, which is fine. It's fine, guys. And I see I kind of did the opposite on the top. I painted the inside. No, I guess I did the same, right? Inside. I don't know. Shouldn't drink for breakfast. Just kidding. I'm going to the gym. I'm not drinking yet. Anyways, it's Memorial Day, and I have two daddies who served in the service. Thank goodness neither one of them passed away. But thinking of all of the soldiers that didn't get to come home and honoring them today is super cool to me. I wish that our government and our local governments, because a lot of soldiers wind up homeless from mental health issues. I wish everybody honored them more every day to help them, but I love that there is one day that's officially to honor them. Okay, we are going to swap back to our light colored orange now. And I kind of love that the paint lines, I don't know if you can see it, the paint lines are making it look like fall leaves. Like the veins in fall leaves. It's kind of cool. That is what Bob Ross would call a happy little accident. I definitely did not consider that the paint marks would give it a more authentic look. I was just sitting here thinking about how cute my faux tissue paper or toilet paper roll candles came out, and thinking that I should do some for Valentine's Day, and thinking I should name them Lovely. Get it? Lovely. Never mind. I don't have many thoughts in my head beyond marketing thoughts. I love marketing. I love figuring out how to get people to see my blog posts. I love all the analytics. I just love it. It's my jam. So when I have to sit here and you guys are hogging up my phone and I can't watch videos, I sit and I think about marketing things. Sometimes I come up with the names for blog posts that tickle me. So next Valentine's Day, keep your peepers open for lovely Valentine's Day toilet paper roll candles. And I'm not a big braggy McBraggerson, but I have to tell you that several teenagers have seen my faux Halloween candles and been impressed with them. And these are teenagers from 15 to, one's 20 now. Anyways, but people who are not impressed by my artistic abilities most times have said that they think they're pretty snazzy. And we haven't even gotten to like phase 2 or 3 where we're gonna do the I think I'm doing I think I see it on the calendar because I make myself a big old calendar with days and weeks and months ahead of time. But I think I see it on the calendar. We're going to do the LED ones this week on Thursday. Well, I'll do them on Thursday. You'll probably see them Friday or late Thursday, perhaps. Ooh, that's starting to look kind of pretty. I'm going back to my painting alone, thinking about marketing, and I'll see you back here in a couple minutes. Okay, I can be less futzy about this now because I found that I can scrape the acrylic paint off the yellow ball with my fingernail. So I'm not going to be as histrionical about not touching it because it's fine. It's fine. And this, so I talk a lot about all paint being different and even all colors of paint with different, even within the same brand being different. And I'm here to tell you that the dark orange paint, the Canyon orange paint, covers significantly better in 2 coats than the bright orange did in 1 coat. Or in 3 coats. Oops. So that goes to show you how different colors, even in the same brand of paint, can react really, really differently. And now that I know that, I don't know that orange paint, the bright orange. Oh, maybe I just didn't do this one. I'm feeling like is really struggling to cover. So I'm going to go over to my Tim Holtz and get a bright orange. We're going to see what happens with this one. And if we can get, this is going to be old paint. And this is almost the end of it. And it is dry. Let me go see if I have one. I have my craft room set up like a store with bees everywhere and shelves where I can go shopping for real. And I have a little section of extra paint and embossing. So I can just trot right on over there and get my next carved pumpkin. But one thing I do like is that I use the cheap paint, the cheap orange paint to prime it. And now I just splashed orange paint all over the globe. So I'm going to clean that up. And I'm going to use the Hippie Arts paint and art wipes. I tell you every time, these look like they're for baby butts. They are definitely not for baby butts. They have something in them that melts acrylic paint. Do not use these on your baby butts. I don't know if they melt oil paint, but if you use acrylic paint the way I use acrylic paint, definitely worth the money. Okay, we need a third paintbrush. I want something fairly soft. Okay, let's test and see what happens when we go over both of them. Oh, that is full coverage paint. We lost every little bit of layering. Go back, take it off. Okay, so now we know that if we want to cover and get a full cover. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Most people, when they're doing a project and they're trying a new paint and they're like, okay, I'm going to try this paint and it's a higher quality paint, I pay more for it, would be like, okay, I'm going to do it a test on a little corner in the inside of a leaf to see if it's going to cover everything. That is not my crafting vibe. I tend to just, as my husband says, spend my whole time fixing problems I've made for myself along the way. So if you're going to try a different coverage paint and you're, no offense, more neurotic than me, because I am incredibly unneurotic, maybe do it on a spot that isn't right out front, like the base. Because look, that has almost full coverage on the first swipe. Now, this is why sometimes it is worth spending a little bit more on a better quality paint. Ranger paint is made in the US by a quality manufacturer, and obviously craft store paints are cheap, and not made with the best materials that they can. They're made, you know, Department of Defense, lowest contractor price. Look at that. That covered that immediately. And I've been going over it 3 times, and I could have gone over it maybe 5 times to get the full coverage from a quality paint like Ranger. Now, is it a little brighter than I would have liked? Probably. I think I'm going to go grab the darker orange and hit it with some, Tim has all kinds of dark oranges. Tim loves orange. He does not like yellow and hates, he just refuses to make me maroon. I'm taking it personally at this point because he made aged mahogany, which is not maroon or burgundy. It is not even a maroon. It is dark red with a little bit of blue in it. But I like a burgundy. And then he's all like, well, you can just mix your own paint, make it, which is fair. And I want a maroon. I don't think Tim Holtz cares what I want. I mean, he cares on the grand scheme of things. Very nice man. Very fun to watch. Very interesting. Love that he and Mario are a team. And they're just as cute as bugs. And also, I don't think he cares about me personally and my angst with yellows and maroon in his product line. Okay, I think we got that one. Oops. And we did the inside of this one. Let's get a darker orange. I knew we had something darker. Ripe persimmon. Now, with this being said, I'm going to have to figure out a way to get... Why is that there? Figure out a way to get this less bright again, because these are way brighter than the paints that I was using previously in tone, right? Like these are, compared to what I was using, positively festive. But we shall overcome. Let's do the backs of these on the top. Okay, that is how much of a difference good paint makes. Just covering it right up. Lovely. Now, when I'm talking good, I'm talking craft grade paint good, right? Like I have some Winsor & Newton expensive acrylic paint for art with, you know, archival qualities and all that. I'm talking about good quality for painting a thrift store candlestick holder, right? Let's keep in mind what we're talking about here. I'm going to go around the top of this so we can start to get some gradients going. I like anytime I can. Well, in the design world we call it gradients. In the crafting world, I think they call it ombre. But anytime I can get a little, you know, range of color going, I like it. Are we doing the insides? Why does one inside look so much lighter than the others? It's fine. It'll be covered up right now. Me. Now, if you're a super handy person, or if your husband is a super handy person, then one thing I would do if I had more time and or inclination and or tools that could drill through really thick metal is I might go ahead and just drill a little hole in the end of each leaf and put a dangle on it. I think that would be pretty to look at, but I don't have that kind of technical ability. My husband doesn't love doing, he'll do things like he did my acrylic blocks, which is amazing for my gel plates. But in general, he's just, oops, do we need, nope, we did the bottoms of those. Okay, so these guys, do I have water? Yep, I have water in my water caddy. I'm gonna put these guys in here. Ooh, I have a thing out. I'm done with orange. And a little bit of extra out. But watch this melt this orange. I know this seems not that exciting to some people. But to me, this is like, oh my gosh. Okay, now where it kind of sort of won't, I'm waiting for paint to dry. We're chit-chatting. Where it kind of sort of won't melt is where there's embossing underneath. We might do this stuff called archival ink. Nope, that is not what it's called. It's called foundry wax. Well, maybe we will do foundry wax. That could be pretty, huh? All right, while we're waiting for this paint to dry, I just looked over and I have tarnished brass Tim Holtz paint. Sounds like it's paint! Yay, guys! Medium brush, medium brush. Let's see what happens on these edges. Oh my, I kind of love that. I was thinking I wanted a more gold maybe, but I'm feeling like this is a very beautiful color and is shiny and may cover in one coat, which honestly, that is not the worst thing. I gotta pour some more out because we're gonna do this all around these little flowers just to get some glitter out here on the edges, right? That was the whole point. Oh, I love that. I do think I'm gonna need a second coat. All right, I'm gonna paint this all around and I'll be back. And while I'm doing this, I have a lot of craft products in my craft room that I could use on this. So some things that come to mind that we've used recently are I could use embossing gold. I could use that foundry wax. I could use, what else? Oh, texture paste, things like that. But especially for these projects that we're doing with the thrift store craft, my goal every time is to pick the cheapest way to get the result that I'm looking for, so that anybody who is coming upon this, I think I want some in the middle of the candle holder, or at least at the top, so that anyone who is coming upon this, it's more so a thrift store craft than what are all the gee whiz bang things I can come up with, which I have no problem doing in some of my crafts. But this to me feels like, what is the easiest way we can accomplish a look that we love while keeping the costs down, right? Because it's silly to buy a $2.99 thrift store candlestick and then spend $75 worth of craft supplies to make it look fancy. Let's focus on what our goal is. And my goal is to have a cool candle holder that has the fall colors. Oh, I went way further in. Boo, boo, boo. Back step. Ah. Okay, there we go. Cool fall candle holder that reflects the light, right? Like, so I want the colors to be, you know, golds and oranges. We didn't use yellow, but we have that yellow globe in the middle of it. It's already there. So definitely to me, this screams fall in a very vintage, interesting, handmade, because I handmade this. I hand painted this now. So this is entirely to my taste. And that's the thing that's so fun about using thrift store finds for your decorating, is that you can wind up with Halloween or fall or Christmas decor that is exactly to your taste, just using some of the stuff you have laying around and a quick trip to the thrift store. Now, I lucked into this one, but if you just go on Old Lady Day, where you can, you know, just get in the habit of going and checking things out. They get new stuff every day. And you might find some really cool things that you can use to decorate for your favorite seasons. Because a lot of the gals said that Halloween were their favorite season, but they do like to do a wee bit of fall decorated. And I feel like I fall into that exact group. Consort? I think it would be consort. That's very fancy. That's a $12 word, huh? I don't like how there was a line there. I don't mind if there's a smudgy line, but I didn't like there was a hard line. Okay. So now we're going to let this dry for a wee minute. Okay. So the very last thing we're going to do is take some brown paint, shake it up, and this is espresso, cheap espresso. And we're going to put 3 drops of paint and like 6 drops of glazing medium. And with everything I've done lately, I have found that glazing medium feels like it's probably my favorite medium. You can use it for, if I could only afford one, I want a really soft brush. You can use it for gluing. You can use it for making the tissue paper translucent. I just feel like there's tons and tons of ways to use it. I feel like this paint is a little grainy. I don't know that I've ever said those words before, but I do feel like this paint is a little grainy. So I'm gonna have a rag and a bit of this color. I don't mind that at all. Just on the bottom here, I think. Nope. I want the color and the shine. Let me see how I like how it looks. And I'm just rubbing it around with my finger. Oh yeah, that looks a lot more antique than just splashy. I think I'm just going to take the littlest nub. Here, I'll do it up top here for you so you can see what's happening. I'm just taking the tiniest bit of this and adding a little bit of vintage. Because honestly, all of my fall and Halloween decorations are pretty vintage. So if I were to pop something in that is super bright orange fall Halloween, it would stick out like a sore thumb and be sort of glowy in the darky. But this way, I can just come into the places where I really see it shining. I'm not as concerned about the insides. We're focused on the insides right this second because we're working on it, but in actuality, nobody in my world will see the insides. But I'll show you what happens on the back. This is what they'll see. So now we're just gonna take, and this is glazed, so it is translucent, right? I went 2-to-1 glaze to color. I also feel like I'm getting a little bit of a feeling like this is helping to blend that bronze in and make it have less of a, this is the bronze part, this is the orange part line. Oh, I couldn't be happier. I'm thrilled. I was wondering if I should do this, and then I thought, oh, go ahead and do it. You try it in case it goes horribly wrong. And instead, I'm just chuffed. I think it looks great. It's helping to add vintageness to it. It will help it blend into my current decorations. I'm pleased. Okay, I will put this out on the kitchen counter and make a really nice little follow-up video so you can see how pretty it is in the light when it's dried. All right, here it goes. Look how cute. It definitely has a fall vibe. It definitely doesn't look rusty grungy. It looks more vintage, and it's something that I for sure will be able to use in my fall decorating. So hopefully that helps. Tara Jacobson, Artsy Fartsy Life.